Hi, my name is Joe Tobiason and I am a photographer based in Seattle, Washington. I was also a YAV in 2009 and 2010 in Lima, Peru, and I'm a trainer with an organization called the On-Field Media Project. The purpose of this video is to give you guys some tips, some tricks, and just some ideas when it comes to photography, videography, and just making content to tell stories about your YAV year. In my business, it's all about sharing stories, whether those are visually, audibly, or whatever you want, but doing it in a way that people can connect with and can feel themselves being in your situation. One of the most important things when it comes to telling stories in an NGO context is that you know the subject and that you're telling a story that they want told. With that, it's probably a good idea your first few months that you're in your site to not necessarily dive into those deep personal stories, but tell stories of what it's like to be there. Tell the stories of the setting, the grocery store, the bus, what you're feeling, because that stuff you really get, but it's going to take time to build the relationships so that you can tell the stories of the people who are already there and have been living that lifestyle long before you showed up, and probably will continue long after you've left. If you're going to be hosting groups this year, I would recommend that you help them to not focus so much on taking photos. Maybe have them have like a designated photo taker that takes the photos of the overarching things, that takes the setting photos and stuff, so that not everybody's focusing on that, but instead is there to build the relationships, which is the purpose of them coming. I do usually let groups take selfies with them, but I also make sure that we educate them and say, like, these are not photos to be doing voluntourism, to be showing off, like, hey, look at the cool people, hey, look at all the poor people I'm helping. But that it's more of like, hey, these are humans, I want to tell you their stories. Make sure you know the rules of photo taking and photo sharing when it comes to your organization, especially if you're working with kids or vulnerable populations. Be very aware of those things and follow those things. You might need to get model releases, but your organization is going to know, and then stick to it and help others to stick with it as well. We've all heard the adage that eyes are the windows to the soul, and when it comes to photos, that's so true. So when you're making photos of people, make sure that faces and eyes are really sharp, are in focus, and that they want to be one of the most bright things in a photo. Now, one of the most well-known photographic concepts is the rule of thirds. Some of you may have heard about that. It's actually, let's make it pop up. Now, you can see right here that there are these crossing lines that go like this. And the idea behind the rule of thirds is that when you put interesting things on the dots, on the places where those lines intersect, that's going to give it good visual weight. And rather, if I'm right here in the middle, this feels really intense, right? I'm staring straight down, straight into your soul. But over here, we've got a little bit more balance to stuff. Imagine when you have a seesaw, and you have something really heavy on one side and something really light on the other. You have to have that balance go way on the extra to balance out that heavy thing with a lot of an arm to have that light part right out there. So that's kind of what we're doing right here. I'm the heavy thing, and this is our light section. When you have this big empty space, you can keep dumping information right here. If you're going to be photographing for an NGO, that's super great, because if it's going out in a newsletter, look where you can put a logo. If it's going out as like the cover to a vlog, this is where you put the name of it. All those kind of things, you've got this space to work with. Now when it comes to making photos, the type of camera doesn't really matter. You just have to be making it and being as good as you can and using the tools that you have.
First, I want to show you a couple tricks on how to take better photos with your phone. First, you can see I have that rule of thirds displayed on my camera. In order to turn on the grid, all you have to do is go in here, go to your settings, go down to photos and camera, and then right there, grid. If you don't have an iPhone and you want to learn how to turn on the grid, all you do is you go and you type in turn on grid, and then you type in the name of your phone. One thing that you want to make sure you do is that you get the thing that you want in focus. And the easiest way to do that is simply to just tap on it. You can see whenever I tap, the box says that's the thing I'm caring about. But what it's also doing is the camera is saying, like, okay, so that's the thing you care about, so that's what I want to make sure is the correct color, is the correct brightness. Now, let's say that that's a little bit too bright, then all I have to do is put my finger slightly to the, when I tap on it, I then put my finger slightly to the left, or to the right of it, and then I can drag down or drag up and make it brighter or darker.
Sometimes you're in really dark rooms and your camera's going to be struggling to keep up. So rather than using the flash, invite your subjects to come to stand in the doorway. You see how evenly lit it is? And because I'm right on the edge, the camera's going to expose for my face and make it all really dark behind them. Or you can have you stand right here, right on the edge. And it looks cool because now I've got that light. If I can make sure that it's exposed to the face, not to the shadows, it's gonna look great. Another thing about how to take better photos that's really important is knowing that light is more important than the location. How many times have you gone to on a vacation and seen people go, they're like, oh look, there's Mount Rushmore behind us. And they'll stand there, but they're looking straight into the sun, and so the family photo looks like this, right? It's terrible because they're focused more about the location than the light. Let's say you're outside, it's the middle of the day. Light's gonna be coming streaming down onto your face just like this, and you have these weird shadows that it's gonna look awful. Well, if you just took your subject and you had them go stand underneath a tree or underneath an awning, then it's gonna look so much better because the light's gonna be consistent. One of the things that's really gonna help you make your photos look a lot better is making sure that a face is either entirely in shadow or entirely in light. Entirely in light is really difficult, but if I went outside and I stood underneath a tree, it would be pretty clean and would look good. Or if you flip it around so the light's right behind the person, but using that same trick of bringing the lighting up so it's exposed correctly for the face, then you'll be able to see the face and it'll be clean and it'll look really good. When it comes to telling better stories, the thing you want to start with is that you need to know your audience. Who are you telling the story to? The better you can know who you're talking to, the better you can cater the questions, you can cater the stories. And not to say that you're gonna make it be different or tell a different story, but that you can make sure that you're focusing in on the elements of the story that that person's going to be able to connect with. Also, when you're telling those stories, make sure you tell context. You need to show the space. You need to be able to tell the story so that people understand more of the background and are able to then connect with and say, oh, I see that they'd feel that way because they're there. When it comes to storytelling, there's 3 elements that you should always have in your story though. You should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. I know that sounds super simple, but a beginning is the thing that tells where the story is starting. It sets you up your context and gets you going. The middle, that's when stuff happens. And the end that's the conclusion. That's how you wrap it up. That you're able to condense down and have that beginning, middle, and end, the more that you're gonna have a dramatic arc that people are gonna wanna dive into. Now, if you're making a blog post, you might have 2 or 3 dramatic arcs within one, and they might look a little bit different, but each one of those having a beginning, a middle, and end, a setup, a plot, and then a conclusion, then you're going to be able to draw people and have them kind of flow through the story as they're working their way along. It's really important to show people doing things when you're telling stories. Make sure that you get some good action shots in there. This can be those ones of, let's say it's a teacher, and you can get that photo right when the teacher goes, ah. It shows the plot, it shows the action. People aren't static. Let's say you're trying to write a blog post and you're going to take a couple photos that go along with it. If you think, I have a beginning, a middle, and an end, you want to have like 3 photos in there at least or something that can show those different elements. If I'm going to tell the story of these kids playing soccer in the community or something, I'm going to show a photo of the space right when we show up. I'm going to try to show a photo of the action of them doing it, and then some sort of an ending shot. It's that continuing that dramatic arc, and they're using photos to illustrate the story. One thing that is really important and really helpful is to think through the story you want to tell before you start taking the photos or shooting the video. Because then you're going to go out and you can just take the photos you think you need and not try to just go out and spray and pray. I've seen so many people show up to these organizations with their DSLR and then they took 300 photos, and then they get done, they get back to the office, and oh my gosh, this is so many photos, I don't know what to do with it. And we'll just take the group photo, we'll throw it in the newsletter, we'll call it good. That group photo is probably really boring, it's not very engaging, but because they just sprayed and prayed and didn't really think through the photos and think through the story they wanted to tell, they took too many. But by thinking through, you will take less photos, because you'll go out and you'll say, okay, I need to show one that shows the space. Well, you might take 2 or 3 to see if you get the one you want, but then you're done. Put the camera down, go do your work for a while, and then kids are playing. It's like, oh, well, we need the action shot. Okay, we're gonna go over here. Well, let's see. Team A seems to be a little bit better than Team B, so they keep scoring goals. So I'm gonna go stand down there, and then wait for click. Oh, I think I just missed that. Let me try one more time. Click, click. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Done. Camera's down. And then you get to keep doing your job and not trying to just keep taking photos the entire time. And at the end of the day, you come back and you've got 30 photos to pick from. And you're going to have better ones because you actually thought through, and they're going to tell the story you're trying to tell. Again, remember what I said about how to tell your stories, that you need to know your audience? Well, the same is true when it comes to sharing online. Know who you're talking to and how to cater that slightly differently. When it comes to sharing stories, be real. Be yourself, be emotional, be open. Don't try to just portray what people think you are going to do. Portray what it really is like. That said, when you have some heavy stuff that goes down, be wary of that, because if you have set up that you're being real all the time, again, know your audience and know what they're really willing to and able to and how they can support you. When it comes to good sharing, one of the best tools in there is to invite interaction. Or when I post a wedding set of photos out on the internet for a family to see, I want to set up in a way that they're going to talk about them. Because when they talk, they're talking to each other, and that's building it's building on the emotion, it's building on the memories, and making people discuss the thing that happened. And yeah, I'm definitely going to participate, but more what I want is I want to create something so that they can talk. And I'll keep feeding them a little bit here and there, but if it's all this way, that gets exhausting. But if you can set up a way that this starts to happen, it draws interaction and it draws a lot more people who care about the thing you're doing. Also try not to overshare. We know we say, like, please tell us a lot of stories, but don't tell so many stories that it seems like you're not participating. There is a bit of a perception that, especially as it's so much easier to be connected with the world at home and the world that you've left, that if you're focusing so much on creating content and sharing stories and all these kind of things and posting on, that it becomes really easy to not be fully engaged in the place you are. So that's a balance you're going to have to find for yourself. Be consistent. And when I say be consistent, I mean in both the way that you write, in the way that you shoot, in the way that you video, but also in the schedule that you do that. And that it draws in a cadence. It makes people expect when you're going to be able to have this new piece for you to interact with. By being consistent, you're consistently building that relationship between the place that you are and the places that you've been, and that everyone can expect the same thing out of you. If you set yourself goals like that, then you can achieve them, and then you don't have to worry about it. You're done. Move on. Go have fun. Go play Rummy Cube. So, I know I've just said so much and given you so many tips and so many things, and you're probably overwhelmed. But the biggest thing is to start. You've probably heard of the YouTuber Casey Neistat, and every time that people ask him about, well, what are your tips to get into YouTubing and stuff, he's just like, just keep uploading. And really, when it comes down to making content, when it comes to vlogging, when it comes to photography, when it comes to making videos, whatever you're going to do, just start doing it. And you're gonna not be very good at it at the beginning. It's gonna be pretty mediocre, but you know what you're trying to do. You know the stories you're trying to tell, and only with practice, only with time, you're going to be able to develop your own skills to be able to tell that well, but also to feel that you're ready to tell the stories that people really do want to hear, to tell the depth, to tell the meaning, and to tell the things that are the reason you're doing your YAV year and that you want other people to join in this event. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please say hi on any of these things. If you have any questions at all, I would love to help you tell great stories this year.